Okay, let's dive right in. If you've dropped some serious cash on a high-end NVIDIA graphics card for your AI work, you expect it to be blazing fast. But what if I told you you're probably leaving a ton of performance on the table? Today, we're going to talk about how one crucial software update can unleash the real power hiding inside your hardware.
Does this sound familiar? You've got this absolute beast of a machine, maybe one of the latest and greatest cards, but your image generation times in ComfyUI, they're just not blowing you away. The source material for this explainer put it perfectly. It's like you bought a brand new Ferrari, but you're stuck driving it in second gear.
Now, here's the good news. It's almost certainly not a problem with your expensive hardware. That bottleneck, that frustrating feeling, it usually comes down to a mismatch between your cutting-edge GPU and the older software that's trying to talk to it. Your hardware is ready to absolutely fly, but the software isn't quite speaking its language yet.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. I love this quote from our source because it just hits the nail on the head. The secret sauce, the magic ingredient that turns your GPU from a fancy desk ornament into an AI powerhouse, is something called CUDA. And it's the one thing you really need to understand.
So, this breaks it down really well. Think of your computer's main processor, the CPU, as a master chef. It's a generalist, brilliant at handling a few really complicated recipes one after the other. But the GPU, that's a specialist. It's like an entire assembly line with thousands of workers all doing one simple task at the exact same time. And that massive parallel power is exactly what AI loves. So, how do we get our software to actually give orders to that giant army of specialist workers inside the GPU? Well, that is exactly where CUDA comes in. Think of it as the ultimate translator, the bridge that finally lets your software and hardware communicate perfectly.
Okay, so here's the deal. CUDA is basically NVIDIA's special backdoor entrance that lets AI frameworks like PyTorch completely bypass the slow lane of the CPU and send those huge jobs directly to the GPU's super fast assembly line. And here's the key. Every time NVIDIA releases new GPUs with new architecture, like the Blackwell series, they also release a new version of CUDA, like 13.1, that's specifically tuned to unlock every ounce of power from that new hardware. So, we've talked about the why. Now let's get to the fun part. The what. What actually happens to your performance when you get everything in sync? Well, the source material ran some benchmarks, and the results? They are pretty staggering. Let's take a look.
And boom, here's the immediate payoff. On the left, a standard generation taking 43 seconds on the old, unoptimized setup. On the right, after simply updating to CUDA 13.1 and the right version of PyTorch, that time plummets to just 26 seconds. That's almost a 40% speed up right out of the gate. But trust me, that's not even the whole story. Because that awesome 40% improvement, that's really just the warm-up act. The CUDA 13.1 upgrade unlocks a secret weapon on the latest Blackwell GPUs, and it's an absolute game changer. It's called NVFP4. So what the heck is NVFP4? In simple terms, it's a kind of magic compression trick for AI models. Normally, you have to choose. You get a big, high-quality model that's kind of slow, or a small, fast model that's lower quality. NVFP4 basically says, why not both? You get the incredible image quality you'd expect from a big 16-bit model, but at the ridiculous speed and small size of a 4-bit model. It's quality without compromise. And this chart, this shows you the knockout punch. We saw the big drop from 43 seconds down to 26, but look what happens when we flip the switch on NVFP4. The generation time just collapses, all the way down to a mere 13 seconds. That's not just an improvement, that is a totally transformative leap in performance. Let's just put one big number on it. Going from that original baseline of 43 seconds all the way down to 13 seconds, that means your generations are now over 3.4 times faster. Just let that sink in. Think about what that does for your workflow, for your ability to just try stuff. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, I'm sold, how do I do this? Well, we're not going to go through a full step-by-step tutorial here, but the source provides a really simple, high-level recipe with just a few key ingredients you need to get this done. It really just comes down to these 4 things. First, you have to have the absolute latest NVIDIA drivers. Second, you got to update your Python environment to the right version, which is 3.13. Then, you install the actual CUDA 13.1 toolkit, and finally, the last piece of the puzzle, you install the specific version of PyTorch, in this case 2.10, that was built to work with CUDA 13.1. It's all about getting these 4 parts singing from the same sheet of music. But let's zoom out for a second, because this upgrade is about so much more than just making your current stuff run faster. It's really about future-proofing your entire setup and getting it ready for the next wave of what's coming in AI. See, it's not just NVFP4. CUDA 13.1 also gives you access to other cutting-edge tech, things like Flash Attention 4, which is about twice as fast as the last version. It opens up new, more efficient ways to program the GPU. By making this upgrade, you're not just catching up, you are putting yourself right at the forefront of what's even possible.
So, we'll end with this question, because it's one thing to talk about benchmarks and seconds, but the real impact, that's creative. When your iteration time shrinks from minutes down to just seconds, when you can test 10 ideas in the time it used to take you to test 3, what new things will you be able to build? What will you create?